If you were completely locked out from the footballing world, you couldn't watch matches, you couldn't get news, you didn't have internet except for you had a phone that gave you Fabrizio Romano tweets, and that's the only thing. You'd be under the impression that Chelsea Football Club are the biggest club in the world, that every single trophy at the end of the season goes into their trophy cabinet, that every star player wants to play for them, and that if you're a kid, your dream is to one day be at Chelsea Football Club. And I wouldn't blame you, because it seems like every 90 minutes there's a new transfer looming for Chelsea, and most of them end up going through. It's a ridiculous system that Todd Boehly has created ever since he took over for Abramovich after he controversially had to give up owning the club. But Todd Boehly, under Chelsea, for the last 2 years, have spent more money than any other club in the world by a significant margin. And they have so many players in every single position, and it just doesn't seem like they have any clue of how they're going to make this work. And over the last 2 years, they've done the exact same thing every single transfer window. And even though they've gone through Lampard and then Tuchel and then Pochettino and now Maresca, I think that it's Groundhog's Day. I think they're doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. They're insane. They're expecting a different result, and it's just not going to happen. Because you're going to build resentment for your manager because you have 17 different goalkeepers and 17 different strikers and right wingers all competing for one spot on the pitch, and it just doesn't make any sense. And if you want to look at some of the numbers, well, I'll show you some of the numbers. Look at Abramovich versus Boehly. This is the old owner versus the new owner who's been in charge since 2022. 2.3 billion spent on transfer fees. That's a lot. That's more than pretty much any other club in the world during his tenure. But then when Todd Boehly took over, it's been 1.3 billion in just the last 2 years. Now, they have earned some of the money back from selling players as well, 1.3 billion to 0.45 billion. And the net spend is roughly pretty similar. The only difference between Abramovich and Boehly is that Chelsea was nothing before Abramovich, and he came, signed nearly 500 players while he was in charge, because he was in charge for, much longer than Boehly has been, and he's won 14 major trophies. Todd Boehly, on the other hand, isn't even qualifying for Champions League as owner of Chelsea, and it just doesn't seem like they're going to this year either, because they're doing the exact same thing that they always have been. And if you take a look at these numbers right here, well, you can see that Chelsea have spent more money than any other club in the history of English football by a pretty considerable margin. Look at number one. Chelsea, 3.87 billion is 1 million more than Manchester City, which is slightly more than Man United, slightly more than Liverpool. It's all the usual suspects you'd expect up there at the top of this list. But at number 10, slotting in just over top of Everton, which Everton has been around for quite a while. They've been at the top, in the top division of English football since it began. In terms of history, Everton is up there with the rest of them. And Chelsea in the last 2 years have spent more than Everton have in the history of their club. And that's true for every single team you see below them on this list. And now their roster looks something like this, although it's kind of outdated because this came out a couple of days ago. But you look at all of the players that you see at goalkeeper. You've got 7 of them. It was actually 8 for a brief moment, and now it is slightly less. But either way, what are you going to do with that many goalkeepers? Well, I guess if they let you play with 7 goalkeepers all at once suddenly during this season, then Chelsea are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And you look at the forwards, just left wing, striker, right wing. Even though a couple of these players are gone now, like Guiu, they're still looking to bring in players like Osimhen. They're still looking to bring in players like Amarodian from Atletico Madrid, João Felix from Atletico Madrid. Yet they already have players like Nkunku. They already have players on their books like Datro Fofana, Nicholas Jackson. Why do they need another forward? Why would they need another right wing if they already have Madueke and Mudryk? Obviously, Palmer plays more of an attacking mid position, likes to drift over to the right side. But why would they need more? Do they need another center mid? They already have 10 of them. Do they need another center back? They already have, is that 9? 9 of them. Well, apparently the answer is yes. Because if you take a look at what actually is going on in this transfer window, well, you can see that they have picked up all of these players as well. They have picked up Pedro Neto at right wing because spending 100 million on Mudryk wasn't enough. Madueke is not enough. Cole Palmer, who is easily their best player over the last year, not enough. Shrewsbury Hall, you need another midfielder, of course. You only have 10 of them in the center mid position. Philip Jorgensen, he might actually end up being the goalkeeper that starts for them. Obviously, they've had a couple of issues in the last year. They went from Sanchez, and then they went to Petrovic. they have a lot of other options as well. I think he'll be a starter. And then you have Omari Kellyman, another attacking midfielder. Aaron Anselmino, 19 years old, has barely played any games in the first league for Boca Juniors. They just bought him for $16.5 million. Another defensive midfielder, Renato Veiga, 20 years old. So you can see that most of these guys are young players that they're spending money on and obviously aren't going to get a sniff of the first team. So what is their plan? Well, it looks like their plan is to buy these players, send them out on loan, or hope to just sell them back onto the market for profit over the course of the next few years. And so you see Todd Boehly going pretty hard into the red every single transfer window in hopes that it's going to pay off in the next few years. And I don't think we've ever really seen this happen with a club before. I don't know if this is going to be like Moneyball in a couple of years. If you've ever seen that baseball movie where Oakland Athletics starts spending money just brilliantly and it just works out over time, nobody thought it would. And maybe they're going to make me eat my words, but it just doesn't seem like they have much of a plan. They continue to swap their manager every single time. It seems like they have some sort of system being built. Like under Pochettino, they hit some form at the end of last season, and it seemed like something was starting to work. And then they sacked him. And now they have Maresca here to deal with a roster that could fill 4 different Premier League teams, and he's got to figure out 11 of them, while the rest of the other 40 of them are going to be resenting him because they're not getting on the pitch. Now, they have had some good business. Ian Maatsen to Aston Villa, brilliant. They loaned him out to Dortmund. The loan spell went great. They sell him to Aston Villa for $44 million. That's good business. Lewis Hall, the exact same thing, $33 million to Newcastle. Omari Hutchinson, Ipswich bought him for $23 million. I think they got a great deal on all 3 of those. So it's not like it's only on the way in. Some of their business on the way out is good. Now, they did loan Anselmino back to Boca Juniors, see if he can continue to play well in the Argentinian top division. Eddie Beach and Gabriel Slonina, 2 of their 77 goalkeepers, getting loaned off to League One, where they will play pretty much every single match that matters, I would assume. So it's not all bad business, and there's some idea going on. But when you have just this many people, I can't imagine they're going to see that different of results that they have over the course of the last few years. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the more recent news, because most of what I've showed you is outdated by a couple of days. Conor Gallagher was meant to be on his way out, and he was meant to go to Atletico Madrid because, they're going to need to sell some of these players to at least follow the FFP rules in England and make some money. But it looks like he's coming back. The deal fell through. So Conor Gallagher, one of the only 4 or 5 players that they've looked to sell during this transfer window, is on his way back to London now because the transfer is falling through. Now, could it still happen? Well, it looks like it because they're wanting to pick up João Felix because they need another striker, apparently. I don't know. But João Felix and Conor Gallagher might do some sort of swap deal between Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. And Omarodian, who is meant to join Chelsea, has collapsed, which is probably best for Samu Omarodian. Not for his wages. I'm sure Chelsea would pay him a ridiculous amount, but in terms of actually getting on the pitch, he's going to want to go somewhere else. Because when you go to a team with that many different forwards, when you have that many different strikers, especially like Nkunku, who I think is all out and out their best striker, their best forward, you're going to want to go somewhere else to get playing time. So if it comes down to playing time, that's the right move. Now, are they going to try to get rid of some players? Yes. Lukaku expected to join Napoli. Raheem Sterling, if João Felix joins Chelsea, he can leave. And a lot of Liverpool supporters have actually been hoping he returns to Liverpool. I wouldn't hate that move. It'd be interesting. He's kind of hopped between these 3 teams, Liverpool, Manchester City, and Chelsea during his tenure in the Premier League. Going back to Liverpool would be a little bit of nostalgia. And they're maybe going to send Morea out on loan. Noni Madueke is one to watch if Newcastle can offer enough money. So there's still a lot of moves being made for Chelsea, and this saga is not over. A saga that rivals that of Star Wars. A saga that is so entertaining. But it's not really the original trilogy of Star Wars, or even the second trilogy of Star Wars. It's more of like the Disney Star Wars movies. It's the recent trilogy. It's not as good. Not as good as the original trilogies. That's what Chelsea's saga is like over the transfer window. But at least they give their fans something to celebrate during the transfer window because they have nothing else to celebrate as of recent in the league or the cup or the Champions League or any European competition for that matter. It's just not going well. If you made it to the end of the video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel because we need to hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel so we can unlock monetization. And I'll leave you with that. See you guys.